is part one of our interview with the great engineer-producer Bill Schnee. I'm John Beaudin from Rocky Stream Music. He's won Grammys, an Emmy, a Dove Award, and he's one heck of an engineer-producer, working with artists like Barbra Streisand, Carly Simon, Ringo Starr, Marvin Gaye, Leo Sayer, Olivia Newton-John. There was Neil Diamond, Steely Dan, Pablo Cruz, Huey Lewis and the News, and don't forget Boss Skaggs, Chicago, Whitney Houston, Miles Davis, Dire Straits, George Benson, and a heck of a lot of other artists that we have not mentioned because the list would just be too long. In this part one, when the Beatles almost reunited, it was Ringo Starr's Ringo album, his best, but also known as one of the best solo Beatles albums of all time. Richard Perry was producing. He asked Bill Schnee to come in and help him, and even though there was a Beatles reunion on the album, they were not in the room at the same time, but three of them were. Here's Bill Schnee.
The Beatles reunion that almost happened.
Having three of the four Beatles in the room was, the first pinch me type of moment where I pinched myself and said, it's all downhill from here. And fortunately, it hasn't been all downhill from there. But what a thing. What a thing to have three of the Beatles playing together, the first time since the band broke up and the last time it would ever happen. And if Paul didn't have a drug bust where he wasn't allowed in the country, I have a strong hunch that there might have been a reunion, because I think that the bad blood between he and John had settled down enough and everyone was there to give Ringo a leg up on the album. So I'm pretty darn sure that he would have come over and we might well have had a reunion. The press certainly thought so, because once the word got out that John was there, from then on at Sunset Sound, we had TV trucks in the parking lot checking everyone that came in the building.
So you mentioned when John got ready and he was in that session, you had mentioned you really noticed the difference between the dynamic when John started. Yeah. And I guess I wasn't surprised by that, but I hadn't heard someone put it that way before, of going.
Well, the way it happened is we started with just Ringo.
Yeah.
And a couple of days later, George came into the studio. He came over from England, and known as the quiet Beatle, he was anything but quiet. Mm-hmm. He was right there, very present and very talkative and everything. And then, and that's when he played the song Photograph that he had actually produced a version of in England with Ringo. And because of his version was much more melancholy, because the lyric really is kind of melancholy. The guy's lost his girl, all he has is a photograph. And Richard decided maybe we should recut this and with a little more up version. And that's when he went for the Phil Spector Wall of Sound kind of thing. And then it was the following Monday that John was going to come in with his song. And when that happened, George did go back to being the quiet Beatle. Sweet Ringo, happy-go-lucky Ringo, all eyes were on John. That's what it was. And admittingly, it was the first time they'd been together. And I don't know if it would have looked like this 4 years previous, if John came in with a song and everybody would just look to him kind of thing. I imagine it's something like that, and maybe a little extra of that because they hadn't been together in 3 years. But he just took over, and it was very obvious that he was going to be in complete control. And when we would have the master when he thought we had the master, that kind of thing. And one of the fun things about that session was he put down a rough vocal so that Ringo could learn the melody and so on, which Ringo did, and he put his vocal on. And then I think that those were 16 track, I believe, not even 24 track sessions. And when the time came that we needed that track, his rough vocal track, I had the presence of mind to go ahead and put the rough mix I had down on a 2-track, and I put it away. Nobody knew about it. I didn't tell Richard or anybody. I just put it away. And years later, they were doing, after John was shot and killed, sadly, they were doing a big retrospective on his life musically, and they called me to talk about the Ringo sessions. And as I'm talking to the guy, I went, "Oh, have I got something for you?" And I sent him the mix of that and sent it to Richard, and they put it on the album. And what's amazing now, of course, who knows where the internet and where these things come out of the woodwork. there's original version that he cut of that in England, because he originally wrote it for himself. I'm the Greatest. He originally wrote it for himself with slightly different lyrics.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of things now on the internet. It's amazing.
You fetched Paul and Linda.
Yeah. Yes. The unfortunate thing is that he couldn't come in the country, but he wrote a song for Ringo. And so we went over there and recorded it there. We recorded at the Apple Studios, 3 Savile Row, the famous rooftop concert they did was there above that. And and Paul and Linda just were the sweetest people, just unbelievable. So genuine and so real. That we arrived, Richard and I arrived when Paul was doing a video with his band, and he just stopped what he was doing to come over and greet us, and just as welcoming and loving as you could imagine. Just tremendous.
And you watched him do that, right? You watched him do that project, right?
Where he had all of the TV screens where the audience with people in them, which of course now we see on Zoom concerts all the time.
Yeah.
With the audience are in TVs, but he was way ahead of his time.
We'll have more from Bill Schnee coming up in 3-4 days. His new book is out, Chairman of the Board, The Soundtrack of a Generation. There'll be links in the description of this video and to his website where you can order the book. Make sure you comment on our video, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. Also, if you want to make a donation to the site, there's a link at the very top of the description. You can also pick up a t-shirt. I'm John Beaudin. Take care of yourself.